Welcome to the HR Huddle podcast, presented by Sapient Insights Group, the ultimate resource for all things HR. It's time to get in the huddle.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sapient Insights Group's HR Huddle. I'm your host, Teri Zipper, alongside my co-host, Susan Richards, and we're back for another episode of The Pivot Effect. This is the show where we talk about you. We talk about you as an employee, as a leader, as a mentor or a coach, and what's possible and how you might get there. If you're feeling stuck, if you're following rather than leading, if you want to lead or you just feel like you've outgrown what you're doing and you want more, we got you. We're focused on the skills and capabilities you need to thrive in the future of work, regardless of the work that you do, because we know there's a future. It's just sometimes we have to make it. Joining us today is our very own Summer Orellano. Summer is leading our sales effort today at Sapient, and I just felt like her story was a journey that I wanted this market to hear, and it's just been such a wonderful journey. I can't wait to get into it, but welcome, Summer.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and welcome back, Susan.
Hi, everybody, and welcome, Summer. We cannot wait to hear your story.
I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited.
And we've kind of lived some of this story with you, so it's just there's a piece of the market out there. We've been doing a lot of these pivot effects, and it's just been a really compelling show. What we haven't done, because a lot of the people are further along in their career, they've made some sort of really big pivots. And what I thought was really interesting about this story is you're still very early in your career. And to some extent, your career, you've sort of been making pivots based on the things that are happening around you versus you making big decisions. So that's the thing I'm excited to hear about is sort of, I think there's a lot of opportunity for people out there and sometimes they miss it.
Yeah.
So before we get into that though, just for our listeners who don't know you, Summer, tell us just a little bit about yourself and, maybe what your early dreams of were. Like, what did you think you were going to do in the world before you started doing any of it?
Okay. Well, Summer Orellano, I am based in Cleveland, Ohio. Early on, looking back at when I was like a teenager, what I wanted to do, and you guys are going to laugh when you hear this, I really had a niche for cash registers. I liked the tapping and the money exchange. So I always said that I was going to work a cash register. That was going to be my career. And as funny as that sounds, now I play with my children on their play cash registers. And that's how I fulfilled that goal of mine.
So what you're really saying is you've always been focused on making money.
Dollars and cents.
Dollars exchanged, most definitely. But, when I became of age and college was a thing, I wanted to do what everybody else around me was doing, and they were going into nursing. And that was the big thing in my era of graduating high school was we're all going to go be nurses at the hospitals. And I guess now we're here and that didn't work out, but it didn't work out because it wasn't my calling,
Yeah. I didn't know that about you, actually. I think it's interesting because, I have a blue collar family background. And so in my world, I thought nursing and teaching were the only two jobs available to women. Right. So I also started nursing and then was like, nah, this isn't going to work. So I did not know we had that in common. That's too funny.
Funny enough, I never wanted to be a nurse.
Yeah.
I tend to pass out at the words sickness and blood. So
and needles.
So, no nursing for me, but my mom was a nurse and she did really well with it coming out of a blue collar world.
Yeah. Well, I have lots of nurses in my family and they're fantastic, but I realized it wasn't the thing for me.
Yeah.
Like you, Summer. Well, so was there a moment that you realized something was for you, or were you just, kind of going with the flow?
I really just went with the flow a lot of my life. Whenever you have a path, if you don't have the correct stepping stones to get to where what your dream is, you tend to be let down. So I have always taken the go with the flow approach to my life, and I'm really happy where it led me.
Well, Susan, that should make us feel good.
I guess we opened the right door, huh, Summer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely did.
Your story about how you even got to us, I just love. And you and Susan are the closest to that story. Maybe you could talk about that for a minute, because I think it's one of the things that even if you're going with the flow, or even if you've made a decision about a big career that you want to do, there's disappointment, or there's uncertainty. There's just things that you start to feel, and that something has to give, something has to change. Talk about that, and then talk about how you sort of found your way to Sapient.
Sure. So it was 2022. I had just had my second child, and I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. Shout out to all the stay-at-home moms out there that actually stay home with their children and they do not work. It is the hardest job you will ever do, and I give you all the praise because I couldn't do it. So I loaded my children up. My sister, Kelly Kuhn, lived in Florida. I loaded my kids up, and we headed to live in Florida because I needed to get away. I was feeling very restrained. I was going through postpartum, which, mothers, we can all relate to that in some way, shape, or form. And I just needed an out. So I went to Florida to work alongside my sister in her Airbnb business, managing and cleaning Airbnbs. What's funny is, I said I'm going to take a sabbatical in Florida and, just relax and enjoy the beach. It wasn't even a week and I was back working because I couldn't do the stay-at-home mom life. I felt like I didn't have my purpose. I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to, no adult interaction. And that's hard during that stage of life. So Susan, she actually moved to Florida around the same time that I moved to Florida. And
I needed an Airbnb.
Yes. And she was pivoting. She was pivoting in her life, and her life was changing, and she ended up renting one of our Airbnbs and staying there while she purchased her home. And during that season of my life, me and Susan, we became close even after she stopped staying at my Airbnb, and she was just a big supporter of everything I was doing. She had never offered me a job, but she was just always a supporter, a person that I could lean on when I was having a rough day.
And I kept finding things for her to do. It was like, Summer, I need a dog sitter. Summer, I need a housekeeper. Summer, I need somebody to like put order in my life. And she always showed up.
And poof.
Yeah. And
it's like magic.
There I was. Yeah. And for Susan, she mentioned me being her housekeeper, which I'm so grateful I was, because once she purchased her home, I could have, never seen her again. I honestly never intended to. You were just a guest at where Airbnb I was managing. And she asked me to be her housekeeper. We kind of did that on a rotating basis, which was really nice. But I remember I was having a really rough day at work, and I was supposed to go and clean her home at that evening, and I wasn't going to go. And I decided, I was like, because I'm just the person, you have just don't ruin your whole day, even if you're having a bad moment. So I head on over to Susan's house, and she opened the door, and I didn't say anything. She looked at me and she said, wine or vodka? And I never said a word. I think she could just see it on my face.
We weren't going to clean a house that day.
But I showed up. And I think that that's the important part of that story is I showed up. I could have just called her and texted her and said, hey, I'm just, I'm busy. And she would have understood. It's not like, it would have been that big of a deal for me to come the next day, but I showed up when I was supposed to.
That's huge. I mean, that is such a big, I want to call it a skill because it is. I mean, you have to be able to motivate yourself to get up, get off the couch, get out of bed, whatever it is, like make the move. And it's hard sometimes. It really is. And people will say, well, you were in the right place at the right time. Maybe. But at the same time, you created an environment for that relationship to make that connection and for somebody else to see what you were capable of doing, right? Beyond yourself. And I think that is also a critical skill, is how do I connect myself to people and the things that I'm doing in the world, even if, they're not the big corporate job, the thing I do every day, even if it's flipping burgers, somebody, if I'm making the right connections and doing the right thing and showing up every day, it creates opportunities.
Yeah.
And Teri, people listen to you. They listen to you, they watch you, they see you, and your actions speak a lot louder than your words. And I know that's an easy cliche, but it's true. I mean, I watched Summer go at everything that she started with this gusto that I'm like, oh my God, I need to find things for her to do for me. and I think I need to find things for her to do for our firm. I just didn't know exactly when it was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that, Suze. I didn't know you had thought of that prior to the conversation that we had. And Teri, you mentioned right place, right time. I do believe in that. But in this situation, I don't think it was that. It was the skill that took me to continue doing what I had agreed to do. Right place, right time is when you win the lottery. And, in those situations, this was truly having the skill to continue on regardless of the bad day.
And the thing that I remember about that day, Summer, is we sat down and I just started asking you questions and you never shied away from any question that I asked. It didn't matter what it was. And you were honest and you were vulnerable. And I remember one of the things that you said was, well, I've never done that before. And it was like, well, it doesn't matter. Here's what you've told me that you have done. And the more we did that, the easier it became for you to talk about what you could do in the future.
Yeah, I agree, Susan. And, I've done so many things prior to Sapient and during my time at Sapient. And I hate to be the person that's like, I could just do anything. But truly, if you put your mind to it, you can. I mean, I'm living proof that you can do anything. It's just about learning and having, the skill set to learn how to do things.
Yeah.
Because that's how I came into Sapient, is I was willing to learn how to do anything that was given to me.
Yeah. Well, and I remember the person that was doing a lot of support for us was leaving, and we were just like, what are we going to do? And Susan said, I know somebody. I think I've got somebody who could do this work, right? And it was the culmination of all of those individual skills. I mean, even parenting is a huge skill, right? I think people underestimate the skills that they have, right? And how those skills can transfer to something on the job. And putting the individual aside who's looking, kudos to Susan. I don't think a lot of people look for resources outside of the standard place to find a resource, which is through a resume or, through LinkedIn. And so knowing people and connecting with people who may be completely outside of your industry might be just the thing that you need to find people that are different, that can think differently, that can think bigger, that can bring different perspectives to the organization. It's just huge.
Yeah, I guess the good and bad thing about being a leader in a small business is we don't have many job titles and job descriptions. And because we didn't have a job description for the work that we needed to get done, it didn't limit us to looking for somebody who had been doing that for the last 5 years or the last 10 years. And, and sometimes, my friends in HR and recruiting, we need to throw away the job description and think about what are the skills that are required to do this work, and what is the work that we really need to have done versus what's been done for the last 10 years. So, Summer, I love this, you coming into the organization and just stepping in and, doing some parenting with Sapient. We were, we had some growing to do. And it's funny because neither Teri nor I have children of our own. And so we mother a lot of people, but we didn't mother our business very well. And so I think you brought some of that. Okay, folks, let's get together and let's figure this out. I think you brought a lot of that to the table, and then kudos to Teri, because when we needed somebody to step into a sales role, after us stumbling and falling and not finding the right people, Teri said, I think I have the right person for this sales role. Summer can do this. Talk to us about pivoting inside the organization from that office manager role to being our sales leader.
Well, Susan, I think you forget I started as the office administrator, and I know that's not a big jump to operations manager, but it truly is, because at first you think that you're just going to be doing the little tasks what everybody needs. And then I would say, well, first of all, I started as a contractor, and I remember when I came in, Teri was like, it'll probably be 20, maybe 25 hours a week as the office administrator. That lasted 2 weeks. And I was like, hey, Teri, there's a lot happening. So first, I think that's something to highlight, is this was never the office administrator, 20-hour a week job I came in. And I was okay with that because I was looking for full time, but I was willing to just take whatever was given at that point. So from office administrator to operations manager, although it wasn't a big jump, it felt more like you guys were giving me a place to lead. Although I was leading in the office administrator role as I was parenting all of my children here at Sapient, I had the title to reflect that, or the sense that I was leading something more. And whenever I was sought after for the sales role, I was 7 months pregnant with my third child. I was about to go out on maternity leave, and, you all sat me down and you said, look, you would be good at this. And I was nervous because about a month or two before, I had mentioned to, I believe it was Stacy, that I could do this because I was, just sick of, I could do it. I just wanted to get it done. I'm a very big component of just get it done. And so it was funny when it actually came to fruition that, you guys saw that in me, that I could do it, and it wasn't just me saying it anymore. But I was nervous because I have never done sales. I had done client work, discussing invoicing and contracts and things of that nature with our clients, but I had never done the sales aspect of it. And I quickly realized that I had done the sales aspect of it without even meaning to.
Yeah. I remember seeing you at the first HR tech that you went to with us. And I watched you in wandering around looking for swag and also selling the value of Sapient at the same time. So while you might not have recognized that as sales experience, we saw it.
Yeah. It was an aha. And again, I'm speaking to people who have, staff who maybe you weren't, you're looking at them in this sort of really linear path.
Mm-hmm.
Stop. Because people have very unique skills and they can do things that they don't even think they can do, or they haven't even thought about it. Right. And then to the individual, recognizing in yourself, problem solving and confidence and resilience are, like, to me, three of the really big things that just they go with everything, right? If you can do those three things, that can get you to the next step. And maybe the next step is not linear. It's not, I'm going to go from an accountant to an accountant two, right? I mean, maybe I'm going to go from an accountant to, I'm going to go do sales, and I'm going to learn about the business and about what it is I'm doing all this accounting for. And so I think we within ourselves don't even think about what we're capable of doing, or how we could take the skills that we have and branch them into something else entirely.
And Summer, that brings up a question for me. It's, talk to us about some of those skills that you brought forward from the office or the operations manager role, the office administrator role, and even before that. What were some of those skills that you brought forward into this sales role that you are absolutely blowing the doors off of right now at Sapient?
Well, I appreciate that, Susan. Honestly, everyday life, that is the biggest, just your everyday life, being personable, I would say, is the biggest skill that you can bring to sales. Being human. I know everything right now is about AI, but being human in sales is really where, sales are soaring. We're selling.
Is there also some element of authenticity to that?
Yes.
Summer? Like being real?
Yes. Just being who you are. People like that because I think in the big corporate world, they're so used to, sitting at a desk and only being able to ask specific questions. But when you come onto a call with a client or in person at a dinner and you bring authenticity and who you truly are, you're selling them on you. And I think that that's really important in sales, whether you're selling a product or a service. Selling yourself and who you are is what makes people buy from you. If they enjoy working with you or having a conversation, having a cup of coffee, they'll come back to you. They'll remember you. And that spoke volumes at the end of last year. That came to fruition.
All right, salespeople. If you don't take away anything else from this conversation, I need you to listen to that on repeat.
And, other skills that I brought forward, just everything I did in operations translated to sales, being able to understand your contracts and your proposals, because as a salesperson, they're asking you questions. Whether you have your executive assistant in the background writing it, you should understand what's happening within your contracts and your proposals. That's super important because they're not asking your executive assistant.
Yeah. One thing I noticed about, you, Summer, is you rarely had to explain the same thing twice. Like, once I explained something to you, or I gave you some background or some history on something, being able to then take that and apply that to everything else you were doing seemed very easy for you. And I don't know if it was, but it seemed very easy. And I know that's a learned skill. You do have to kind of, learn to take that on. But that was something that to me is also a critical skill. Like, how do I incorporate what I just learned? It's not this one task, it applies to a lot of things that I'm doing, and I need to think about that more broadly.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it, Teri. That's exactly what that was. I was learning from the great women of Sapient on how to continue on and how to stay in the organization. You know, when I first started, if I'm being truly transparent, it was just keep going, figure it out, just keep moving forward in the right direction. Take criticism, very important. That's a very hard skill to learn, especially if you've been beat down by personal or professional. It's very hard to learn to take constructive criticism and do what it's asking. So just keep moving forward.
That is a great point, Summer, and I think something everybody can learn. It's very hard to learn to take constructive criticism, and it's a critical skill. If you can't do it, you're going to jump from thing to thing to thing because it's too hard for you to face accepting that you did something that you need to change the way you're doing something. It's not necessarily that you did something wrong. It's that you need to do something differently.
Yeah.
And that is a hard skill.
Yeah. And for leaders, who have trouble providing that constructive feedback or that constructive criticism or developmental feedback, you owe it to your staff to provide them with that. It's your job. It's your responsibility.
Yeah.
Even when it's hard. I mean, and I know I'm not good at it. But I know that if I don't provide that feedback, then how on earth is my staff or my team or whoever going to learn and grow from that? And to be kind with that feedback. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't be mean about it. And share what you wanted instead of what you got. My millennial and Gen X, or my millennial and Gen Z colleagues, are hungry for that feedback. And Summer, I think you personify that for us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
and you ask for it a lot.
I do.
That is something I think people need to learn to do is ask for the feedback.
Yeah, I appreciate all constructive criticism. And remember, I'm putting the word constructive in front of it because belittling and the constant nag of some criticism can be really hard on people mentally. So constructive, this is what you gave me. This is what I was expecting. Here's how we resolve it. That's how criticism should be given. And to the employee, just keep doing it, keep going back and trying again. Nothing is on fire. I know in corporate, it seems like everything is on fire all the time. Constructive criticism is not that. It's not on fire. No one is, hanging off the side of a building. Just take the constructive criticism and do it better next time. And Teri, you mentioned I ask for it because I love to fix things. And sometimes I'll do something and I didn't like the way I did it, or it maybe didn't turn out the way I thought it was going to. So I look for that feedback from others to figure out why, because I only know how I did it. I don't know what actually is, the right way.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Sometimes there is no right way. But there's a different way or a better way. And those are the things we look for, right? There's not always the right way.
Summer, we could talk all day long, about lessons that we've all learned in working together and things that you've taught us, individually and as a firm. But we do need to be cognizant to our audience and not them all day long. So to sort of wrap this up, what's one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's standing at the edge of either a large pivot or maybe even a small pivot that would help them move forward?
Jump. Do it happy, do it sad, do it mad, do it crying. do it excited, jump. Because if you don't, you don't know. I'd rather make a mistake than not take the chance. If you don't take the chance, you don't get it.
And trust that there will be somebody on the other side saying wine or vodka.
Exactly. and, you know, if it doesn't work out, remember, as long as you jump and you are respectful to the people you jumped from or the organization you jumped from, you can always go back. People who respect you and respect the way you work and understand personal and professional, they'll be happy for you to jump. And those are the types of people you should have in your corner.
Don't burn bridges.
Yeah.
Is there a book or a quote or a song or an idea that sort of captures your journey, Summer?
So you guys are going to laugh, but I think my Gen Z audience will appreciate this. It is I Can Do It with a Broken Heart by Taylor Swift.
Okay.
That is
I love it. I was thinking about for that group, and this song this is a Gen X song, I think. As I lose my voice, Susan, Chumbawamba, remember that song? I get knocked down.
Oh yeah.
I get up again.
Definitely Gen X.
That to me is like, this is life. You're going to get knocked down and you got to get back up. You started this conversation there. Like, I'm going to cancel my job tonight. No, I'm not. I'm going to my job tonight. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to do it. And look at the doors that it opened for you. It's amazing.
It is.
Well, what's next for you? Have you thought about what's next? Or are you still going with the flow? And
I haven't really decided what's next. I'm really happy where I'm at right now in my life. But if there is a what's next after Sapient, I think I'd be a great hire. But right now, I'm truly...
She's not available.
Available. She's not looking. She's not available.
Right now, I feel like I'm truly supported both in my personal life and my professional life. And, everything about Sapient embodies what I want. And, for our clients out there that just know that the organization you're supporting by, a product or a service that we sell, I mean, the organization alone is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Summer, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing this fun story and taking us on a journey down memory lane and for challenging us to be better leaders and to keep showing up for our staff. Where can your friends and colleagues, not recruiters, find you on your socials?
I am on LinkedIn and Facebook, and it's under Summer Orellano, Orellano. 2 L's in Spanish make a Y. And I'm the only Summer Orellano out there. I have looked. It's a very unusual last name and a not so common first name.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Summer. And thank you, Teri, for hosting this fabulous podcast. For our listeners, for more great content, visit our website for all things leadership, culture, change, and HR technology. We have information-packed reports on all those topics in our research center. We'd love your feedback and suggestions on future reports. And also, be sure to listen to our other shows, Spilling the Tea on HR Tech and HR We Have a Problem. We want to give special thanks to our marketing team and producer, Kelly Kuhn, sister of the famous Summer Orellano. And thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing time with us. And thank you for providing your feedback. That's it for this episode of The Pivot Effect. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Leave us a review. Tell us what other pivots you want to hear about. Drop us a line at our website. You can schedule a chat, a phone call, Summer is covering most of those, so you can talk with her directly. And we look forward to seeing you again next month with more tactics and strategies for your future pivots.
And if you phone in and you want to just chat about your own pivot, I'm open ears.
Fabulous.
All right.
Thanks everybody. See you next time.